Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 87th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by the heir to House Harkonnen, Jaden.
Wow, I get the ugly fox, eh?
Hang on, that's their name, right? I didn't botch it.
Harkonnen, yeah.
Yeah,
Harkonnen?
that is Dave.
Okay.
Dave Bautista, or however you pronounce it there.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, but it's also Stellan Skarsgård in a fat suit. So,
Get to hang out in that weird chocolate bathtub thing. And Timothy Chalamet, a.k.a. Fitzy, a.k.a. Liam.
Hello, what's
Hello.
up?
Not much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. And this week, that movie is Dune, also known as Dune, also known as Dune Part 1, which opened in the US on October 21st, 2021. It was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who is now a friend of the show. Huge status right there. It is a sci-fi drama, and the synopsis says, a feature adaptation of Frank Herbert's science fiction novel about the son of a noble family entrusted with the protection of the most valuable asset and most vital element in the galaxy. Dune superfan number one, Liam, who has read every book, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, knows this franchise inside and out. Please tell me, it's been a long time coming. It's fun. It's finally here. What do you think of Dune?
It is here. Dune is great. I like Dune. It was awesome and it was great. The spectacle was really cool. A lot of interesting details, I thought, like the kind of absence of like technology, them like using swords and shit, and feels like a very unique world, you know. And it's a very, very scary movie as well. Like everything feels very intense. It's got a thick goddamn atmosphere to it. So it was great.
just the IMAX experience.
That's right. Also a loud movie, you know?
Very loud.
Very loud. What about you, Jaden?
Yeah, it's. I don't necessarily feel conflicted, but I feel a bit confused. It's like it's a movie that I struggle to floor, but like when I think about it amongst Denis' other films, I just can't seem to put it as high amongst the others. Although I do think it is really, really fantastic what he's created. I don't know. It'll be an interesting discussion, hopefully.
Hopefully. I really liked it. It's a great part one, you know, and it's good going in with that expectation, I think, because the movie, I want to get into this, but the movie's paced oddly, which I think comes from them adapting the book in the way that they did, and that's great. But just as a theatrical experience, as a movie in the traditional sense, it's sort of a weird progression as you're watching it, to where it sort of just ends. You know, it's sort of a weird thing, but I mean, there's so much to like. It was a delight. It was a cinematic experience, you know, and the whole IMAX thing was just terrific. I really, we're talking about it, but I was so sold on that whole aspect of everything as well. Like, I feel like I just got like converted on the spot into one of these cinematic experience, like preserve the theater experience people, which are thanks to Denis and his film, and the sound, which was like, outside of it being loud, was very exceptional as well. The one thing I want to start with is the fact that Fitzy knows a lot more about this than me, in the sense of like, there was that, who's that director, Jarodowski, what's his name, who tried to make
It's like Jodorowsky.
Yeah. The whole story with him, I want to watch that documentary now for sure. But this film, I believe, or this book, has a reputation, if I'm not mistaken, of being impossible to adapt, right? That's sort of a thing.
Yeah, like Lynch's version was pretty not accepted, and I think it was like people thought it was unfaithful and stuff, and Lynch was kind of doing his own thing, which, you know, can't not expect Lynch to do. I think it's too big. You know, you need a large budget to adapt it, I guess, is one just major thing, and also the right the right vision of it, kind of being like Lynch's looks kind of creepy, but it is like very, the book is like very serious and kind of like this. It's very kind of like stale, kind of, or like it feels real.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, every time I see David Lynch's, I see like, I don't know, a screenshot or something. It just looks cheesy as hell to me. I just like it looks absurd. But I mean, the thing with this movie, and I'm sure it's a lot of things combining. I'm sure the budget is one of them. I think you're right. But like, I watched this movie being my first introduction into Dune, into the world, into the story, and having watched this movie, the highest compliment I can give it is that I've got no idea why it's so hard to adapt, because Denis and the team made it look easy. You know, it's just like watching this story unfold. I'm like, sure, it's a spectacle. There's a lot going on visually and stuff, but in terms of like the story and the characters, I'm like, I don't understand what's hard to adapt about this. And that's not me like shitting on anyone else who's attempted it or anything. It's just it's a credit to the filmmakers that they just made this shit look so impossibly easy a task that has sort of eluded so many people. Yeah, so I don't know. I was so impressed by it in that sense. I was listening to Denis talk about it, and he sort of used the book as his bible in making the film, and he really wanted to make this adaptation as close as possible and to have the experience literally be like you're watching the book. He really didn't want to sort of imprint any of his own. I mean, I'm sure he made changes I'm not super aware of, but he didn't want to imprint his own sort of vision onto this story. It's sort of, he wanted to treat it as faithfully as possible. And I mean, as far as I can tell, they nailed it. So I was super impressed by that. And I think a huge part of that is just how amazing the film is visually, and not just, I mean, this, cinematography and all that stuff's great, but like the VFX, the CG, the models, just everything, the production design. It's just like it's probably the best I've ever seen. It's perfect, just the look of everything. Everything feels so real and visceral. I don't know. I really love that stuff. Were there any, I don't know, designs or visual set pieces moments that stood out to you guys?
I like the big bowl thing that lands and with the the emperor's bowl,
Oh
and
yeah,
like and the mosquito ships or whatever they are. Those are very, very cool.
the insect helicopters. I like those.
Yeah, but like yeah, in terms of like special effects, it is like one of the best movies I've seen. I think in that aspect.
There's that one shot from the trailer that like has the only like dodgy looking CG shot in the movie with like Timothy in the helmet in that shot, which I noticed in the trailer. But like seeing it in the film, like it was cool that obviously in the trailer we didn't understand that it's part of like an extended sort of 30-second long take action sequence that ends on that shot, and like seeing it in context in that way made me realize, oh, this actually looks incredible. Like not necessarily that effect, but like the way the action shot and stuff, I think is really well done, and all the hand to hand choreography was really entertaining. What about you, Jane? Did you like any of the weird cylinder spaceships or anything?
Yeah, like quite a lot. I really like the way they shot space because it had this old feel to it. Like I don't know how to really describe. Like like the planet was obviously like this really amazing CG achievement, but then like the stars in the background, I feel like in recent films, like traditionally, like you kind of like got this like hyper focus or like they're really clear. Whereas this felt a bit older in that sense, where like they felt kind of like painted on a background. I don't know if you felt that, but like the space scenes alone, like they had this really cool feel to them. That kind of like I don't know if it was done like that. I don't know what the effect was. I don't know how it was made. If it was intended to feel like that, but that's how it made me feel. It was really great, and I love the way that like each of the ships just slowly crawl onto the screen. Very Star Wars opening. But obviously this was the
Oh
influence
yeah,
of Star Wars and whatever. But like, yeah, I think the space scenes were great. But I think the best scene and where you can really fully feel the IMAX in terms of like just like being put into the place was when the Harkonnens attack and like there's just shit blowing up everywhere and like it's still very coherent despite just everything that's going on and I thought that was really fantastic.
yeah. That was great. I mean, it's just so much thought went into all of this, and you can just tell, it just sort of oozes off the screen. And one of the interesting things is that Denis was sort of talking about the film being in terms of how they wanted to present it in all of these aspects we're talking about visually, the production design and stuff, is that it's sort of, he viewed it more as a period film, which I think it's not. He didn't view it as like a sci-fi film or anything, or a futuristic thing, which is, I think, is great, and you can really see that, and I'm sure that's, really bringing the book and the descriptions to life in the best way he can. So just, and the costumes and stuff, yeah, man, it was just dope.
It also feels like there's still so much to explore because like we don't see the Emperor for one thing, but also like the whole city is like underground kind of, and there are like millions of Fremen in these sietches. So we don't see all the people underground. We don't see the Fremen. We don't see all the scale. Even though we do sometimes, like we see that there's that one shot of like that dot, which is like that massive ship, against space, and it's like that's what the whole film feels like. It just feels so large, and especially with part 2 coming, it's like it feels so big the whole time.
The sieges, that's what they were called. I'm excited to see those. So I don't know, because I figured like maybe we'd see them in this movie, but I don't know. As we got the runtime went on, it sort of became apparent we weren't. But I'm excited to see how those are brought to life too. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's so much left unexplored. I'm gonna keep doing this where I'm like, oh, Denis said, because I've listened to a lot of what he said last night. But he was talking about the film actually, and this is something I wasn't expecting, but how to him, in him crafting the story, it was sort of more of a mother-son story than I certainly expected, and how the heart of the story is sort of the mother-son dynamic between Paul and whatever, Jessica. Oh, I got it. Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson there and Timothy. I wasn't expecting that at all in the movie. Like the way the movie ended up playing out, story-wise, surprised me. I didn't expect, like, I figured, okay, cool, House Atreides, we're going to this planet, they're going to settle in, and then the Harkonnens are going to attack, and there's going to be like a third act battle sequence. That's sort of where my head was at. Wasn't expecting them to be basically wiped out in the middle of the movie, and then you sort of have this survival sequence, this survival series of events where you've just got the mother-son involved here. And I really like that aspect of it. But I'm leading into saying, I guess, that I think I'm finally getting the Timothy Chalamet hype, I think I'm finally there with it. Where, like, obviously, seen him in plenty of things, obviously a very good actor, but he's just never been anything where I'm like, I connect with him, I'm like, oh, this is a killer performance right here. Like, I really get this. This is the first time I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, I get it. And he really impressed me in the movie. Not necessarily because he was doing anything remarkable or anything we haven't seen from him before, but just, I think the mix with him being the lead of this huge ensemble and in this big budget thing and playing this likable character, it all sort of just finally connected for me, I think, if that makes sense. But how good was Timothy to you, Fitzy?
He was really great. Did he say anything about like part 2? Or was he just saying like everything about part 1? Or did he say anything about like the whole story?
So, what I have for you right now, I've got this trivia. Denis Villeneuve confirmed, and this part of this we know, but it sort of leads into something, that his adaptation of Dune will be split into 2 films in order to ensure that the original story would be preserved and not cut into a million pieces. However, contrary to the common practice of several installments being shot back to back, only the first movie was shot and produced, with an optional sequel depending on how well the first film performed. A sequel was green-lit on the Tuesday after the film opened, which is, I always find it funny how they know that quick if it's going to be worth it for them or not.
I'm just talking about Paul as a character. Like, did he say anything about him or him in the sequel? Or?
No.
Okay. Yeah, Timothy Chalamet as Paul is, like, he was likable in this film, which is really good considering where it's heading. Yeah, like, I think reading... So I think I've read, like, this movie plus a bit more. And I think it did add parts of it. I probably will read the rest of it because I am very curious to see... Because I know, like, how it kind of plays out, so I'm curious to see how that happens with Paul. But, yeah, like, the story as a whole is, like, interesting in terms of, like leadership and dictators and stuff and, like, that kind of cycle.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that to see where he goes in the next film. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but yeah.
No, sure, fair enough. Fair enough. I was saying that I found the film surprising in that the amount of shots and stuff from trailers and me sort of making assumptions about what the film would be and how much of that was just dream sequences because there were a lot of them,
Hmm.
which were interesting. Like it sort of got to a point where I thought, like, is this becoming too much? But then, like the second when they started throwing in things that didn't necessarily become true, I was like, oh, okay, I kind of like that. That's interesting. So now it's sort of more engaging in that. I don't know. I'm trying to sort of decipher them as opposed to I'm just feel like I'm just watching what's going to happen. Yeah, I'm interested where this goes for Paul. I mean, I feel like it's sort of. It seems on the surface, and I'm sure it probably will be like this in broad strokes, but it sort of just seems like it's going in the direction of a sort of Jesus hero's journey sort of story for him. I'd imagine. Like, I don't see a world where he isn't the one for these people, unless they'd be like a crazy.
Am I
Like that's the whole
nuts? Or
subversive thing.
didn't Denise say something about Zendaya is going to be like the main focus, or he's going to like shift the perspective to her more, or something like that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it would make sense, right? If we're going into the sequel, obviously head on into whatever they're called, the sand people,
Fremen,
the Fremen, exactly. If
Tusken
we're clearly
Raiders.
going the Tusken Raiders, we're clearly going head on into the Tusken Raiders world. So, I mean, that would make a lot of sense. I thought the Zendaya opening narration was good though. I like that. I'm just bringing that up so Jaden can transition into his Zendaya rant.
What's the rant about? No, she just plays American teen girl, but in space in the desert. She does what she does, but just shit. To be fair, like, it's like you were saying yesterday. Like she didn't have a whole lot to do, but like the only personality she had came from the costume. Like honestly, like her accent, her face, the way she was. It was like putting Mary Jane in space, and that was it.
Her eyes were
Yeah,
bluer than Daniel Craig's, which was impressive.
I'm
I'm
really
actually,
glad that they chose that TikTok audience over actually casting a talented person.
yes, including the person sitting next to me. They loved it. They loved it. No, I am curious about this. What's it? Do we know her name? I'm sure they say it.
Oh yeah, they said it, but it's like
Chani.
yeah.
Or
Chani.
Yeah.
Chani. Okay. I'm actually personally curious about this character because I feel like, I mean, there's obviously Paul keeps having dreams about her. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't know. I don't know what that's about. I'm curious about it, to be honest. And I'm sure we don't know anything. We don't know anything about her at all. So I'm just curious about it personally. I thought she was good. I thought she was fine. Like she didn't blow me away at all. But again, she didn't have a lot to work with. I mean, there's so many other freaking people in this movie. Jaden, Javier Bardem was in this movie. Believe it
Oh
or
yeah,
not,
that's nuts. Yeah, who knew?
that was crazy. And then I mean, I don't know. There was just so many people. Oscar Isaac really impressed me as always.
Mm.
I wasn't expecting him to die like as early as he. I mean, like if you told me he died at some point, I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But like the way he did, it was pretty early in the movie or pretty early in the story. I feel like was cool. But still, it's funny because he sort of died. I don't know, like maybe halfway through the movie or something, or maybe a bit after that. But I still feel like we got a lot of time with him too. It didn't feel like, oh, this guy I barely knew he's cool or anything. Like I feel like I really understand that character as well. Did Josh Brolin? I feel like I blinked and I missed something. Did he die
Oh
in this
yeah,
movie?
yeah. I was talking about this Lockie. I was like, he just disappeared, dude. Like, I swear to God.
No, he went into battle with all the Saga
Yeah.
Claws or whatever.
But then we never saw him after that, right? There wasn't a quick shot where he died that I missed or something.
No,
Okay,
and I was wondering if that was intentional to bring him back later, or like
I
if
guess so.
we just kind of lose him in battle and that's it.
Yeah, he'll probably be back. I mean, the way he's talking in this movie, I see him being a traitor 100%. Again, weird to predict books that have been out for years, but like I don't know. Many times he wanted to bring up how profitable the Harkonnen endeavor was, on Arrakis. So I'm like, this guy could be a turncoat right here. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I think you're completely off.
You reckon? I don't know. He vanished from the movie.
He was like pretty against the Harkonnens. Like, he talked about how that scene where he talked about how brutal they were. And the way he said it was like really like kind of frightening. How he said it to Paul.
Mm.
You're like, he used his whole voice,
That's true. He's all his vocal
Not in the way
range.
Paul does, but yeah.
No, not yeah, exactly. I don't know. I feel like he's sort of a brutal guy himself. I don't know. He was pretty hard in I don't know. I sense something going
Yeah,
on
but
with
he
you,
seemed
Josh.
he seemed loyal to the Atreides.
That's true. That's true. But you never see it coming. But yeah, okay. So I'm glad you guys. The other question I had was in terms of I was, of course, intrigued by the Emperor and the Imperium and these different world elements.
Sheaf,
The
yeah.
Yes, Sheev, exactly. But I don't know if the Emperor ever actually like physically comes into the story in the books or anything. I get the impression from this film that he's not relevant, but maybe I'm wrong. But in terms of, I didn't understand. So the Emperor sided with the Harkonnen to wipe out House Atreides on Arrakis, right? That's what the whole ambush was. So why did the Emperor remove the Harkonnen from the planet in the first place? That's what I didn't really get that.
Yeah,
Because he can't attack them on their home planet, because then it's an active, play of war, and the other houses of the Imperium will see that and then turn against the Emperor. Whereas, if they're on there, then he can kind of do it. The whole point was making sure the other great houses couldn't see that happen, and then just blame it on the planet, kind of a thing.
Okay. So him removing the Harkonnen from Arrakis in the first place was a ruse. Like that wasn't.
Yes.
It wasn't like he changed his mind later or something.
No. From the start, when we first see the Baron, he said, he tells Batista, when is a gift not a gift? Because he's not gifting the planet to the Atreides. He's bringing a trap later.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. So the Emperor is indeed Sheev. He is indeed a dick.
Well, we're told he's a jealous
Evidently.
man. I mean, very little. They kind of give it to you quite clear. He's a jealous man who wanted to stop the rise of the Atreides.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if we'll see this guy.
Well, I think we'll have to, because at the end, Paul was saying he wanted to either become the Emperor's heir or convince the other houses against the Emperor. I mean, I guess both he could do, but yeah, Paul wants to become the Emperor in basically.
Sure, and he'll do it leading these people, I imagine. The whole voice, I really liked the whole element of the sisterhood, right? Is what they're called.
The Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to attempt to say that, but I really liked that initial scene with them, and obviously the really good scene with what's in the box, but the introduction in their role in the story in terms of his mother, all these witches essentially being tasked with trying to give birth to and create this sort of Jesus figure who can bridge space and time with their mind or some shit. I'm like, oh, that's pretty neat. And I guess, I mean, it seems pretty clear that Timothy is that person. But I just thought I really liked that stuff. It sort of threw me off, and the way it sort of links with him becoming the leader of this other crew, and just the voice power in general. I don't know. I think it was really well done from a sound perspective, because I feel like there's a version of that that's sort of goofy. Oh, he yells. But it really worked, I think.
I'm surprised you're so set on Timothy becoming the chosen one, because I could very easily see him dying, and then the one that she's currently pregnant with being the actual chosen one.
That's a good point. Yeah. I sort of forgot she was pregnant. I mean, it's a big point, but then when they're on the run, I sort of forget about it. Yeah, that's totally true. I don't know. That'd be cool too.
What's her name?
Jessica? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So the Bene Gesserit have been breeding bloodlines for centuries. They say all this in the movie, and so the Harkonnens and the Atreides are cousins, as the Baron says to Leto.
Oh, I thought okay. So he did. I thought he misheard that, because I was like, what? But okay, he did say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Jessica, I think they do say this in the movie, so I think I could say this. She betrayed the order by giving birth to Paul. Paul wasn't kind of part of the plan.
And because he's a boy, right?
Yeah, that's right. That is one reason. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because she was like forbidden from teaching him the voice or whatever, their
Yeah,
ways or whatever.
because they don't
But she
want
did it
like
anyway.
that power in the wrong hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it
Yeah.
also because like they didn't want the Messiah to come now? Because like she was talking about how they planned for centuries, not
Yeah.
years. So like he just wasn't ready. They weren't ready for him yet.
Yeah, they did say that too. Like she rushed it. She betrayed them. I kind of did it too early. Yeah, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, there's so many hanging threads that I'm genuinely curious about. So that's cool. And to think that, I mean, this cast was stacked, and to think that, I mean, a ton of them died in this movie. Last night I really liked Jason Momoa in this movie. I thought he added that. I know he's a cool dude, a loyal dude. He's like Timothy's bro. I'm down for him totally. And his death I thought was cool. And I mean we don't and then like bloody Oscar Isaac dying too. There's just a ton of dead people. So that's a shame.
Talking about the deaths, there's that guy that died. There's a guy that was like by the Baron's side, like that creepy guy that's in Prisoners.
Yeah, David,
yeah.
Dutch Australian or what's his last name?
Wasn't he in the Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like
he's Polka Dot Man, right?
Yeah.
Polka Dot. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
But like him and Leader also has his second hand guy the guy was in Lady Bird. Like they have this thing with their eyes where they peer up and they can like calculate things, where they have like the white eyes.
Yeah.
And like that's one detail that was in that's in the books. It wasn't really explained, but they like have like this like these powers of calculation because like in this unit they can't use technology as much, or they can't use like any AI because like there was in the past in this law there was like a robot, like an AI revolution. So like all AI is like banned. So that's why some things are kind of like some things seem kind of like basic technology, and then other things are like interdimensional space travel. It's kind of like a weird mix. But like
I think that's awesome. By the way, it's cool.
Yeah, but like they were just like there, and that was cool. They didn't really explain them, but I think like me reading the book, I like understood that extra part to it. But like the movie does have like a ton of exposition, which is actually like very similar to the book. Like the book has a lot of explaining exposition, so I didn't really mind that, especially because it's like this movie is a lot of setup. But yeah,
I mean, yeah, I assume those sequences where Paul is like watching the educational holograms and stuff. I assume that's like those aren't like that in the book. That's like I assume the movie's way of giving us
No, I'm pretty sure they are
exposition.
Because
like where he actually watches that stuff.
Yeah, like he actually does learn from like the film books and stuff.
I figured that was an easy way to sort of convert exposition from a novel into film form, but that makes sense too. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, in terms of those details, I don't know, like that stuff's cool. And like I also learned last night that it's a world without computers and AI because it's set so far in the future. And I thought that's a really cool idea that Frank Herbert sort of created that. But I don't know if the movie like needed to explain that necessarily. I understand the not having that in the film because I think that stuff is that stuff's cool stuff you can dig into. It doesn't really add anything to the story itself.
Yeah, I don't even know if the first book does explain that. I think that's just lore that's within the Dune universe. Because there's like 5 or something books by Frank, and then there's like his son wrote a bunch of books too. So there's a lot of lore going around.
I want to talk about the pacing and how you guys felt about it, because for me, it's probably my biggest issue with the film. I don't think it's a big issue, but it's in watching it, when I'm in the cinema, I'm not one of these mad people checking the time, you know what I mean? Unless the movie sucks. But so I've got no idea how long a movie's going for when I'm in the cinema, obviously. And normally you can sort of get a feel for how long a movie's got to go when you're watching any old movie just based on the structure of the film, and you can typically feel when you're sort of heading into a third act, or when you understand film structure. And this film is not really structured like that at all. I've really struggled to separate the film into 3 acts. I mean, I could sort of loosely try, but it doesn't fit. It doesn't really build in the way a film normally does, and I think that comes about from the fact that I assume it's a very faithful adaptation, and they had to cut the book off somewhere, So I assume that's a product of that. But as a result, for me, I think I had like no idea how long the film was going for, and I felt like for the entire last hour, I feel like the film could have ended at any point because the film
Yeah.
sort of does just end. Like the final combat sequence there, the trial, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the challenge. It's a cool sequence. It's fine, but it's like it's not a climax of your movie, and it does very much feel like just a part one ending. It feels very much like in 5 years' time, like you're going to just throw in the next disc and it's going to feel a lot more cohesive than just this. So that's sort of one of my things with it. And as a result, I feel like the film did lose some momentum towards like in the last half hour for me in terms of just getting into it. But that doesn't really speak to its quality or anything. But did you feel similarly, Jaden, at all?
Yeah, especially as the movie went on, because I was really hoping going in that the sandworm that we see in the trailer wasn't going to be the end of the film, but as the movie kept on going, that kept on getting later and later and later. And to the point where it finally did show up, I was like, all right, okay, so we're just going to end on this shot of the sandworm popping out of the desert, and then they're going to resolve that in the next one. But then, no, they do continue from that point. And then when I was from there, I was like, oh, well, how much further do we go? So I completely understand what you're saying. I mean, I like it though. I think, it's non-traditional, and it is interesting having these massive kind of complications so early on, and these, it adds to the realistic feel, I guess, battles don't happen according to your time, they just happen and stuff like that. So like, I quite like how authentic it adds to kind of like the authentic feel that they've crafted. So yeah, like it's an issue, but it's not really an issue for me, Like it's an issue
sure.
From a technical perspective, yeah, sure, but from a creative storytelling perspective, no.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it's something that sticks out to me, and I noticed watching it because it's not traditional. And it is true. Like personally, I did lose some momentum in the film, but yeah, I don't think it's like an issue, like a critical flaw or anything necessarily. Like it sort of just is what it is. It's so funny that you bring up that you thought it was going to end on the sandworm, because that is something Denis said, is that the 2 versions of the script they were playing with was either ending where they ended it as we saw, or ending it on the sandworm. That was what they were gonna do. So it's interesting they chose not to. I don't know if as the film plays out, I don't know if that would have worked for me either. So
No, I don't. From the start, I was really hoping it wouldn't end there.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, because on one hand, like on the other hand, I should say, like I understand the choice to end it where they ended it, because as we've brought up already, like we're hanging out with the sand people. We're about to, I assume, go and explore their features and stuff. Like that does feel like we're about to enter a new world of this world. So it does feel like a logical spot to end in that sense. Just from a traditional pacing perspective, it did feel odd to me. I don't know if you felt the same way, Fitzy, at all.
Yeah, like the first hour, I think is some of the best stuff because it's all just like massive introductions and everything. But like I do like once the attack is finished, it's just kind of survival mode with Paul and Jessica. And it kind of finishes their whole journey through the desert thing in the book, which seemed like it took ages when I read it. But no, like I do like where it ends, I guess, because he made some new friends. Now he's gonna work with them.
He had to kill for them, but he did make them.
Well, it's before you were saying that you didn't mind the vision stuff because it became evident that not all of it comes true, but it did come true, just not in the way that it's directly depicted in his vision. Like it's still him dying as they talk about in the battle. You kill a man, you take your own life, so he is still dying in that sense, but it's just not as what we were shown. It's like the visions are very much what's going to happen, but maybe just
Yeah, that makes sense too. That's a good point. I didn't pick up on that. That's often how in narrative we deal with visions, right? Yeah, I don't know, like that. The vision that stuck out to me the most. I mean, a lot of them are visually striking. There's just a lot of Zendaya shots, just a lot of them. You know, we just see her face a lot. But the one that stuck out to me the most was the one where it's the sequence I'd already talked about a little bit, but where like Paul seems to be leading the sand people, and they like spring out from the ground, and like they seem to be fighting the Imperium on the desert. Like because that was like an extended action sort of sequence there that was just all vision, and that was interesting. I wonder if that's something we'll see literally or not. I don't know. Maybe
Well,
it was cool.
I think the one to me was the one where it's her hand covered in blood, just like, absolutely fucking soaking it. And like,
Yeah.
I wonder if that's already been resolved in the fact that she's now got Janice. Is that what his name is? Janice? Was that the guy?
No, I don't remember.
Anyway, I wonder if that's like his blood on her hand, or if that's something that's come later as well.
Oh, okay.
I think that's an interesting thread. And also like them going back to Caledon, whatever, on the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I interpreted like that shot and the one where she's, I guess it's her holding the knife, right? Or the whatever it's the sword or whatever. You know that one with the sun in the background. I interpreted those as being something we haven't seen yet, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Of course, I've got to talk about the score, and I'll intro it by saying that composer Hans Zimmer is a big fan of the novel Dune and turned down working with Chris Nolan on Tenet to score this film. And I didn't know this. For the same reason, Denis was the top choice but turned down the offer to direct No Time to Die. I did not know that. I did not know that at all. I mean, I'm sure both projects worked out. They worked out great anyway, so it's all good. But anyway, what do you think of the score, Jaden? Because I heard a producer on the film last night use the word unfamiliar, and I'm like, yep, that's exactly how I feel about it.
Unfamiliar as in like the sense that you couldn't tell it was Hans, or unfamiliar in just in terms of like it's a new sound in film?
Yeah, the latter, because I mean, I think I can tell it's Hans. It's weird because of course I know it's Hans that we're going in, so but yeah.
I quite like it. Anytime you're going to use vocals in a film score, I think it's going to stand out more than just a film piece, because you're drawing more attention to it by adding that extra layer. I think it's loud. It's too loud, perhaps in the IMAX theater. I think I was talking to Luke or maybe Andy about it, but like sometimes it was hard to distinguish what was bassy because of the score and what was just bassy because it's sci-fi and in a massive theater. So like it was hard with like some of the sound mixing to tell where the score comes in and where it doesn't. But I quite liked it. It's quite, yeah, I thought it was quite great. I think his No Time to Die score was better, personally, just because it's more up to speed with what I'd listened to, I think. But I think he did a brilliant job on this, and I think it definitely adds to the authenticity of what we're feeling on the screen.
Yeah, I agree. I think it really complements the movie quite well. It was quite unique, I think. It wasn't what I expected necessarily. Like that, the recurring vocal motif that we get all the time. That's at the end of the trailer and stuff. I really like that. And apparently Hans created, like, I don't know, I didn't get any other like description of this. He created instruments for this score. So I don't know what that entails, but you wanted to go for something truly otherworldly.
2 French horns on the left and 2 French horns on the right, and combine them together, just 2 notes. Yeah. He made that an actual instrument. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. What an inventor is Hans Zimmer. What did you think about it, Fitzy, when it wasn't giving you a migraine?
No, it was awesome. It kind of made it like the whole universe seem more brutal than it was like majestic, like there's like deep drum sounds, like the vocals were like really interesting, and just like the constant like background aura of like just like this tense sound, it's like persists the whole movie. So yeah, I really love it. It's great.
I mean, I already mentioned a little bit. I really liked the action for the most part. They like the hand-to-hand choreography is really solid. like that final fight between old mate Timmy and the other dude was probably the best one, I think. Like Jason Momoa had some good moments too, and just mainly the use and the creative use of the force field technology stuff, which I thought was really interesting. I still don't really understand how it works, to be honest. Like because when Oscar Isaac's like shot in the dart in the back, right? Doesn't it like it turns red and doesn't the dart like it stops it for a second, like it's like trying to hold on and then it penetrates his skin? I think that's what happens. So I don't really understand like the amount of force that can be applied before like, how much it can withstand. But just like seeing it on screen though, I was like, this is cool. I really like this.
I think it was also sick, like when they were bombing it, like the bombs had the same effect where like that it was like a really slow drop, but it wasn't a slow motion drop. It was just like a slow drop, and you could see it kind of like force its way through the floor. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was really sick.
Yeah,
and like the way I just love the way things fall in the film, like the way like the soldiers like parachute, but not really parachute from like the sky.
That is sick.
It's so sick.
That was awesome. When the way that shot, I don't know if it was just, I mean, it was probably just because of IMAX, because my entire field of vision was the screen. But like, I believe like the first dude like comes down from like the bottom corner, and I like had to physically move to see, oh shit, he's there. Like, there he is. I see him. Like, that was cool. I really like that.
Yeah, because they implode a few times, and every time I'm like, fuck yeah, this is nice.
How about this way? Denis Villeneuve saw Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, whatever, as a rhino in human form. And so Stellan Skarsgård, who played him, had to spend 7 hours a day applying makeup. Christ. When I hear about, actors for different roles having to do makeup for like 2 hours, I'm like, that sounds terrible. This guy did it for 7. But my God, it was certainly a look, That's for sure. I really liked it. It was unique. And that, I don't know, like the element of having the spine thing too was cool. And I don't really understand how he floats. Is that like is that a technological thing? Or was that wasn't like some sort of magic power or some shit? Like he had some sort of...
I'm pretty sure like that, isn't that implant in like his spine, the neck thing, isn't that what makes him... Because I thought that's what it was. Okay. I thought because he's so fat that he needs that. And that, like that's why he has to like rise up and use like that.
Yeah. Did they explain it in the movie?
I don't think so.
No.
Not that I recall.
Yeah, I think that's it though. Yeah.
Because sometimes I was like, yeah, that makes way more sense. But sometimes I was like, is this guy like a wizard or some shit? Like, what's
when I was reading the book, I thought he just could fly, but no. Oh, it was so funny when he was poisoned, and then they found him in the fucking roof or the fucking ceiling. Oh my God, that's great.
How did he survive that? That was I was devastated.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, the poison takes longer to.
Yeah, and then good old oil bath afterwards gets you done.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, the depiction of the villains overall, they're just gross, which I think is the which, as I say that out loud, makes me feel bad about the nickname I gave Jaden at the start. I didn't intend that, but no, I really like their depiction. It feels different, but they're still intimidating, So I think that's important as well.
I really love to look at the worlds we get. Like, it kind of annoys me that you set it on a desert planet when you have such nice worlds to look at, like the Atreides one or like the one with all the soldiers. They're just nicer. And even the Harkonnen world is just technological fucking mess, but it still looks more interesting than just middle of Australia.
It looks a bit more interesting than just Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that we initially see like a benevolent emperor, as in like he's sharing the planet and the riches of the, of the galaxy, and then it's stripped away after 15 minutes, and we're like, oh no, he actually is a bad dude.
Yeah, that's true. And I actually, the whole sequence where, which I really liked, of like the malfunction on the spice refinery or whatever it was, and like the sandworm was coming, and they had to rescue the people.
Yeah.
Like as it was happening, in terms of like some of the dialogue in there of like the machine malfunctioned, and it was like, oh, the Emperor's left us, or whoever, they've left us dodgy equipment. They want us to fail. Like as that was sort of happening, I was sort of confused. It was sort of seemed like a random element to introduce. It's like, wait, so who wants you to fail? But then it ended up being foreshadowing for the fact it was all a trap in the first place, which I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. To your knowledge, Fitzy, like, does the spice end up becoming more significant? Because here it's sort of just like we're just told, oh, this is why the spy. It's important, but like we don't see it. It's not used for anything physically. You know, I don't know because
Well,
they say it's like the sand people use it for life, right? Or like it's like
yeah, they
medicine
say
or something.
that, but they also say it's necessary for interdimensional travel. Like that's the most important thing, I guess, for everyone. Because I think like it doesn't really matter whether it's galaxy or universe, but he's like emperor of the universe, you know. So because in this and at this time, I guess there's travel everywhere because of the spice, you know. So the whole universe is connected because of the spice, kind of. So it's like this, like that's kind of the idea, I guess. But it also does enhance Paul's visions and his powers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like when that malfunction happened and he was like in the sand, he was having a vision. It's because he was inhaling the spice.
Oh, I didn't get that. Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
And like the spice is needed for like the intergalactic travel, like not because it's used as fuel, but like because the Guild of Navigators need it, so like they can see, like have their visions of where not to go. Right, that's what it is.
Yeah, I think they said that in the movie. Yeah,
Oh, so it's not like literal fuel for spaceships. It's like it gives everyone these sort of vision powers that then enables better space travel. Interesting. Okay.
I can't. I couldn't believe that of everything on screen, Denis was like, "Yeah, this is what's taken us the longest to make." I mean,
I agree with that.
this is just a cylinder with a bunch of teeth. Like honestly, what took your time on that? Obviously it's very impressive, but like, you have such a rich world. You have multiple very rich worlds, and of everything that we're showing on screen, the sandworm is the one that took 9 months to create and the longest, difficult thing. Like honestly, like what are you doing?
Yeah, I can understand obsessing over every detail of it, but in terms of like, if you look at literally anything else in the movie, it looks like so much thought would have been like triple as much thought would have gone into like any number of things I'm looking at. You know,
Mm,
like those friggin' the helicopters or the just the look of the city, even like that made
mm.
Arrakis City was a really cool look as well. That was a great. I assume that was a lot of model work there. Probably it just looked like it looked like it to me.
yeah. So did they say there was shields there? Because I don't think we ever saw that. Or was that just
Yeah,
like the overcoat?
they said the shields were lowered when the Harkonnens were attacking, and I think there was also a reference to the shields earlier on.
Oh, because the Doctor lowered the shields, right?
Mm.
Oh, okay. But like, I don't think we ever saw that, did we? Or like a visual of the shields? Or was the shields just the overcoat of like because everyone lives underground? Or was it actually at the edge?
Oh, that's interesting.
Actually, no, I think it was at the edge because there was some like technology or something.
Mm.
But yeah, I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
think we
know.
saw that. But
No, I don't think
oh.
we did it. Yeah, I don't think we did.
But I like the scene where like Baron kills the Doctor. It's like shows how brutal he is, you know.
Dude, there's nothing more unlikable than someone who's like makes a promise, but it's like, oh well, technically I worded it this way. You know, it's like I said I'd set her free, and I did, so now I'll set you free. It's like, mate, we all know no one likes that guy. You know, like we all know what you meant. We all know that you didn't mean that. Now you're just changing your words. You know. Yeah, so he
Dodgy.
was a dick. Real dodgy, man. Batista, surprisingly, like he didn't really feel like a character to me in this movie. He was sort of just like, I mean, I get the role he's filling. He's a sort of lieutenant army guy, but I don't know. I was expecting maybe to get someone like him to get a bit more of a characterization. Maybe that's still to come, but
He's the
I don't
Baron's
know.
nephew, right, Liam?
Yeah, I think he says like uncle in the film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was expecting more as well. Because I really read the very start of the book, and like in that first meeting, the nephew does like speak up a bit more than what we're kind of shown. So I was kind of expecting a bigger role as well. Mm.
Yeah, like I do like what we do get of him, which is like his posture. You know, like the heavy breathing. He seems very I don't know. They're all beastly kind of the Harkonnens.
You brought up it looking like Saudi Arabia, and I feel like it is important to mention that this is Orientalist literature, at its finest. this is a Frenchman taking the exotic East and amplifying its characteristics, and then taking what he wants and depicting what he wants, and it reinforces a lot of these stereotypes of the Middle East that we kind of grow up on. The savages, the harsh land, the exotic people, and all that. But, that's fine. You just need to acknowledge what it is. I've seen a lot of people complaining, about Paul being a white savior, and like that. Like, yes, that is the story. This is what the story was. It was written in the 50s, 60s.
Well, I don't want to spoil everything, but I think it's more of a critique of that.
Well, yeah, even more so, yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, this is it is Orientalist literature, and I think it's fine as long as you can acknowledge it.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear inspiration. I don't know. I think there's enough that sort of makes it stand out, though. And I mean, and there's also something to be said for those sort of undertones of, Indigenous peoples to locations and oppressors, like being more universal than that. You know what I mean? To many cultures over time, if that makes sense.
Well, Frank Herbert was very political, and he was like an environmentalist as well. So he's definitely drawing from like a lot of real world, examples.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
There's so many shots of just people walking off ships, and I love every single one of them.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Yeah.
Oh, we have to mention
especially when the witch. Ah, yes. That survived the AI uprising.
Why did the worst instrument have to survive this? You know what I mean? It's like, god damn.
Dude, when the bagpipes started playing again when the Harkonnens invaded.
Oh yeah.
And with the Hans Zimmer score elevating it, that was epic.
That was cool.
The
bagpipes were really funny. But yeah, I mean, that shit never gets old in sci-fi. The ship's landing slowly and the hatch doors opening.
The engineering to allow for that ship to like just in that moment, it made me realize holy shit, the amount of engineering that would have to go into just this platform for the ship to land on, because it's just a massive sphere. That's a solid mass. That's a really fucking heavy thing, and to build a platform with just concrete, that's rather impractical.
Maybe you can do it,
Yeah.
Give it a go. Just as a little side project,
Yeah,
don't have to spend much on it.
Create a new concrete compound that's just can withstand 50,000 megatons.
That's right. I mean, the scale of the movie's great. Like that spaceship we're talking about, I was sort of looking in the background and noticing how it completely dwarfed the forest. It was like, wow, that's neat.
Another thing I like is Paul. A little bits where Paul distinguishes himself a little bit, or I don't know, little things like he talks to the people, the guy, putting the water on the tree, or he speaks up to Stilgar. He starts to see himself as a leader, I think. That's kind of his arc in this film. Yeah, he at the start, he's he's a boy, and he's kind of eating breakfast and he's with his mom and he's sad. That's what he kind of seems like. He seems like Timothée Chalamet, but
he's in a mood.
Yeah, he's in a mood. But at the end of the film, he's kind of embraces his destiny.
Absolutely.
Not what he thinks is his destiny.
He definitely has an arc, and it's good. Yeah, 100%. I am interested in what that sisterhood show they're doing is going to be like. Is that being, like I mentioned, one of the more interesting parts of the world to me already? That sort of piqued my interest. So yeah, I don't know. If you get that actress back from that scene, that'd be great. She was great.
That one actress from that one scene, yeah. Which one are you talking about?
The one in the box scene,
Who was the actress? Because I didn't even...
no idea, but she was great.
Okay, right.
The guy, chick in the, with the veil.
With the veil, yeah. I thought maybe you knew, and that's why you wanted to get it back.
No. She was just very good. That was just a very good scene.
I was really curious how they'd do that on screen without it being cringe, but they did it well.
There's a video on YouTube I highly recommend of Denis. Have you seen those videos? I think I don't know, one of the newspaper magazine publications do them with directors where they break down scenes with
yeah.
Denis does one on that scene. Highly recommend it because he breaks down every element that I never think of that they put so much thought into. Oh yeah, we wanted the shadow to be exactly here, and I'm like, oh shit, but it does add something to it, and you just only take it in subconsciously. It's crazy. Let's get into our final verdicts for Dune 2021. which is another alternate title, I guess. Fitzy,
Big fat, as Jane would say, big fat 9 out of 10 for me. Yeah, I
well
really
done.
loved it. I'm looking forward to the sequel.
So am I. So am I. Possibly the many sequels. You know.
Oh yeah,
Well, realistically,
That's-
how long do you see Denis tied up in this franchise?
I see him doing 3.
Yeah.
did
That's
he
what
did
I
he say
see.
he wanted to do 3?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much it would entail, but he said he wanted to do the second book too, right?
Yeah,
Or the
yeah.
third one. I don't know. I don't know how the books work.
Okay.
He said he wanted to. We were talking about he wanted to do the Timothy generation of characters.
Hmm.
Yeah, I see. I actually really want that to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat. I do feel like we're sort of watching the next like epic fantasy sci-fi series sort of unfolding before us right now as it's coming out.
Yeah.
Sort of like being on the ground floor for Lord of the
Well, that's
Rings
the
back in the
thing. Like,
day.
it is like a mixture of fantasy and sci-fi in a really interesting way.
Yeah.
Like, it does have fantasy elements, like the magical things are like really fantasy.
Definitely. What about you, Jaden? Is it going to be big fat score
Yeah, I don't
or?
know, because like I was kind of bouncing between an 8 and 9, or just like because it doesn't feel like it has that personal connection that other films he's done has, but it's definitely a very strong film. So like, I think it's a decent to strong 8, maybe. Yeah, decent to strong 8. Yeah, strong 8.
Not a big fat 8.
No, because Liam is such a. So.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's right. I'll give it an 8 too. I thought it was great. I really liked it, and just more than anything, just really curious about where this goes. And this story, when it's completed, has the potential to be like really something special for me, But we're not quite there yet, and it's weird because I mean it speaks to Denis' filmography that I think this ranks lower for me,
Mm.
But yeah, just really, really an impressive film that everyone should go see. I think. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Jaden, what have you been watching?
I think I only watched one thing this week. Did I even? When was the 27th of November this week, or was that last week?
No, that was last week, I think.
Ah, shit.
I
Oh
think
well.
you can just talk about it. I guess.
Yeah, I watched Wonder Woman 1984 finally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like just like what a mess compared to the first one, right? I mean, like that's like the general consensus, right? Just messy, Like it's not necessarily horrible. Like it's not entirely enjoyable, but like I don't know. I mean,
It is a bit horrible. Come on. Come on.
yeah, I don't know. I think I like where. Yeah, I kind of. It feels very childish. Going from something like dealing with World War One, and I like the way they use nuclear anxiety. To be honest, I do quite like that towards the end. But like, having like a wishing stone and the power, like the wishes corrupt people. Like it feels like a very childish story, to be honest. And like the only thing that saves it from being like a 4 to me, like one scene, one shot can honestly just elevate the film entirely for me. Like towards the end, seeing old mate's son walking around on a bridge as like missiles like launch around him. I don't know, very awesome. I love Cold War. I love that period. I love nuclear anxiety. I love like what it's done for just storytelling. So like seeing that, it made me give it a 5 and appreciate it a little bit. But like it's not a strong movie at all. That Wonder Woman suit looks awesome though. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought you were about to say, I love nuclear anxiety. I wish it would come back. I wish we'd live in an age of nuclear anxiety.
I mean, we're beyond nuclear anxiety at the moment.
Yeah, fair. What about you, Fitzy?
Well, some films I watched might be on my top 5, so don't want to talk about them. But
okay,
I watched Kid 90, which is a documentary film from videotapes that a prominent child actor of Hollywood in the 90s took from her storage boxes. Salil Moon Fry or something. She was on like a kids' TV show.
interesting.
But yeah, it's just about the 90s and all these young teens growing up in the 90s and, the film is like very nostalgic for the 90s, even though like a bunch of them, there was a bunch of her friends that died in the 90s, so it's kind of like to drug overdoses and alcohol and all this. So like it's kind of interesting from the perspective of like the psychology of nostalgia, which like overshadows all the bad stuff, I guess. But yeah, like you see like early footage of like some very well known actors, like Leonardo DiCaprio's there for like a few scenes. She's walking around with him, or like,
And she's like filmed this herself.
yeah, like she took her
That's wild.
video camera like everywhere she went, like in the 90s. There's audio recordings as well. But I think generally it tells in a pretty good story of like actually breaking out of that, and she went to New York and went her own way and met friends there, and this like I watched this film called Kids is about like the skate culture in the 90s in New York, and some of she was friends with those people and some of the people that died there as well. So like, yeah, it's an interesting movie. It kind of doesn't uncover everything to a great extent, but I think just seeing this footage is good enough. Yeah, it was on Prime. So it was good, pretty good watch.
Cool.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be on your top 5, evidently.
No.
Okay. These lists are starting to form in our minds, I'm sure.
Oh,
Now,
I've already
who
got my
do-
list. I've already got my list down pat.
Oh, you've got your list.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. Very well planned. Now, who should I give the privilege? I like when Jaden allowed us to choose what we talk about. So I want to do the same thing, but who do I give this privilege to?
Oh, give it to Jaden because he's the one that allowed it.
The pioneer of this.
Yeah, the pioneer.
Sure. All right, Jaden.
Zach, tell me about Venom. Let There Be Carnage. A film that you said you weren't going to watch. I'm pretty sure.
When Luke invites you, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. I bloody rushed there too, as Fitzy knows. I bloody friggin' drove my heart out. I think I broke several laws. No, I didn't. I did not. Yeah, I mean, this movie, it's not for me at all, man. Like, there's honestly nothing I liked about it. It's not a terrible movie. It's not like I can see the entertainment value in it for other people. I can see why people would like it. I don't think I liked anything about it, like at all. Not even like there wasn't even a scene. I was like, oh, that was cool. I think Venom made me laugh twice, which sounds like maybe a lot, but considering that like basically every line with him is meant to be humor, it's like a lot of misses. So there was that. I feel like I didn't want you to choose this one. I enjoyed watching it for the social experience of hanging out. I didn't enjoy the movie, you know what I mean? So it was like, okay, Fitzy, can you give me one thing you liked about it so maybe I can figure out if I liked something else about it?
The one thing I liked about it, I mean, I generally like the banter between Tom and Venom, and I liked the design of Carnage. It's kind of all over the place, but yeah, I mean, I didn't really like it, but yeah, it was short, I guess. It wasn't a Marvel movie, but that was over 2 hours long.
That's true. It was 90 minutes long, but like the plot, it just felt to me like the entire thing was just so flimsily put together just to get to the friggin' Carnage Venom fight at the end. That's all the movie seeks to achieve. No other story elements resonated with me in any capacity. Or it's like, what? Oh my god! And like the performance, like Woody Harrelson is terrible.
Yeah, that's one of the worst
terrible,
performances I've seen.
terrible. I think Tom Hardy's really bad too, but that's also like another sort of subjective thing I get. Like he's the same as the first movie. Like if you liked him in the first movie, that's fine here. It's just such a weird performance that does nothing for me. He's weird, like I don't know, like quirky. He's full of bands and does his weird voice and shit. I don't know. It's so weird. He sort of acts like he's drugged up all the time. It's very odd. I mean, to be fair, he's got an alien in his brain, so there's that. Yeah, I don't know. Didn't like it. I don't want to go on and on. As always, now we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what is your favourite movie set in a desert? Jai said, best movie by far is Ishtar from 1987. I had to Google this. This is apparently a Dustin Hoffman comedy thing. Now, it's got an absolutely abysmal score on IMDb in the 4s. So I don't know if this is ironic, but nonetheless, I appreciate you bringing it to my attention, Jai, because I had no idea what the hell this was. But maybe it's one of those things where like it's like genuinely funny, you know, because it's so bad. I don't know. But
I don't
I'll
know.
tell you what. It was a way more unique answer than these other ones, I'll tell you. These other ones are good too, though. Aiden said, Revenge of the Fallen. Jaden's choice, 100%. That's a great one. Luke said, at the time of writing this answer, I haven't seen Dune, so I don't know if watching it will change my opinion. Probably not. My favourite movie set in the desert is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a great story and a good adventure film with an iconic score and memorable moments. Indiana Jones is just a great character all round, and it's always a blast watching his films. The Indiana Jones films, haven't seen them in a decade, but they are great. Paul said Mad Max Fury Road. As Jaden said earlier, just a banger of a choice, right?
It's a lovely day. It's a lovely day.
Who says that?
The guy.
Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah.
Nicholas Holt's in that movie?
He's like the main he's the main dude, other than Tom and Charlize.
Well, like the antagonist.
No, he's the he's Nux, the one that has like a cyst on his neck.
He puts like the white stuff on his teeth. And like yells.
He's the one that drives the car that Max is on. Fucking, you know.
He's zero recollection of this.
He's like the only person. You know, like how like him and Max end up in the desert together, and like they have to work together a bit, you know, and like you know they're on the truck with the women as well.
I remember the women, and I remember like Charlie's there and Max, and then they have to like they drive all the way out there, and then they have to turn around. And Andy wrote in a physical letter. I'm going to do this to the microphone so everyone understands.
Ooh.
A physical question of the week. So strap in, everyone, as if I'm not going to read all this, all right? My favourite movie set in a desert would have to be an Australian film called Walkabout, directed by English filmmaker Nicholas Roeg. I'm pretty sure Australia has deserts, right? I think you're right about that. Regardless, majority of the film is shot in the Aussie outback, which has lots of sand. So I'm pretty sure it's a fucking desert. Walkabout is hands down a 10 out of 10 movie for me. This 1971 film was the most dreamy and humanistic cinematic experience I have ever witnessed. You guys may have heard or not heard about this film, but I would highly recommend this for an Australian Day episode or something. Oh yeah. We did a Wake in Fright of a similar time, so yeah, we can capitalise there. Also, I've also happened to mention this film because legendary Indigenous Australian actor David Gallipoli. Say his name.
No, isn't it Giuseppe?
Giuseppe.
Gillespie maybe.
Gillespie. I didn't realize there was an S in his name.
I'm pretty sure it's David Gillespie or something like that, isn't it? Fuck, let me just search Walkabout. I'm pretty sure he's in Rapid Proof Fence as well, right?
Yeah, and he was in Australia.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
David Gulpilli. Gulpillo? Oh my god. Gulpillo. Gulpillo. This is so bad.
Gulpillo.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gulpillo, that'll do. Had a major role in this film. You might know him from we reviewed the films we reviewed, such as Baz Luhrmann's Australia and Cargo. He was in Cargo? Really?
Yeah, yeah, I think.
I don't recall. I believe it.
I don't recall that movie. So
what a boring movie. Anyway, he did pass away last Monday. I heard about that at the age of 68. And just here to cherish what a bloke he was, Walkabout was his first ever movie role, by the way. Rest in peace. Very well done, Andy. Thank you for appreciating him. I actually appreciate him too. I mainly was introduced through, as Jada mentioned, Rabbit Proof Fence. He's a very good actor, iconic Australian actor, no doubt. I think for me, when I think of, iconic Indigenous roles in Australian films, no doubt, number one is old mate David there. So rest in peace, I agree. I'm not gonna lie, like it could just be a deja vu thing. I'm pretty convinced we've asked this question.
We have not asked this question.
I am pretty convinced. I could have dreamed it. I don't know. I feel like I've had this exact answer where I'm like A New Hope because of Tatooine. I feel like I've done this. I don't know. I feel like Luke's done Raiders of the Lost Ark to it too. I don't know. Anyway, who cares? We're here. Yeah. No, it's A New Hope, of course. Are you kidding me? One of the best movies ever made, of course. And it's like there's a desert there, so therefore it counts, right? Yeah. Tatooine's a great setting too. Shot in Tunisia, I believe.
Yes.
Which is cool. I believe you can go and visit the Lars homestead there, like it's still there. That's neat. I might have to do that one day, What about you, Jaden?
Mine is it's A Touch of Evil, and directed by Orson Welles, 1958. It's set on the American-Mexico border, around in and around this town, and I'm pretty, it's a desert town. I'm sure it can count. It's truly phenomenal, like really like incredible storytelling. Like it's, it's been a while since I've watched it, but it like the opening sequence stands so clearly in my mind. It's such a famous. I reckon you've probably seen it. Even it's just such a famous sequence, that opening. It's the way they craft tension and build the story and the characters it uses. I think it's really, really fantastic. Yeah.
Fitzy, what about you?
I'd say Dune 2021 probably beats it at this point. But actually, now that you say that we might have asked this question, did I already give this answer? I don't know, but maybe not.
I didn't mean to doubt everything.
I'll say Lawrence of Arabia.
Whoa.
The original.
No, there's no way you've mentioned that on the show. Like, no, there's no way we've asked it.
Really?
You haven't said that. I'm guaranteeing you.
I'm planning down to my mind. Fuck you, Zach.
He's 5 levels deep in your head.
Yeah.
Inception.
Deeper than the desert. No. The original 4-hour epic. It's kind of plays into what Jane was saying about that whole, Oriental, white savory kind of thing. Like the film's about, who is Lawrence of Arabia? Who is he? And it's a massive journey, and I think, I think the fact that I was engaged the whole 4 hours is pretty great. I mean, the music is soundtrack is an all timer, and some really great moments. He comes to connect to, what he calls his people, which is kind of a bit weird, but it is very emotionally fulfilling, even though his actual morality and character is kind of left ambiguous. But it's interesting because I think when you return to it, or I haven't rewatched it, but I think if I return to it, I'll kind of see new things in him because, it is one of the all-time great character study films, I guess. But I mean, yeah, it's an epic film, I guess. It's Dune, the scope and everything.
So yeah, I mean, I have to watch this movie, right? It's one of those movies that it's you sort of just gotta watch it
for a 4-hour journey. But yeah.
We should do a double feature of Ben-Hur and Lawrence of Arabia, just 8 hours.
All right. Well, there's no question of the week this week because we've already recorded next week's episode 88, which, by the way, in that recording, I said episode 88, hoping it would turn out to be correct, and it did. So I'm very pleased about that. So we'll see you all next week. And the question next week will sort of prep you for our awards episode, our season finale episode. So get excited for that. But anyway, what is that episode that we already recorded, Fitzy? What are we reviewing next week?
Sopranos prequel, The Many Saints of Newark. on Newark. Get hype.
Cool, man. Cool, man. Where can you watch it now? I don't know. Probably nowhere at the moment.
HBO Max, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you got that. Yeah. If you got a VPN, maybe. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to listening back to that. And we appreciate everyone listening. We appreciate you guys joining us, as always. I mean, everyone appreciates it, is what I mean by the we, you know. And we'll see you all next time. Have a great rest of your week, and goodbye.